All right, I want to show a couple examples of things that are in this platformer code, but were not in the last video. The last video, we kind of stopped before lunch, and then we added more stuff after lunch that day, but I didn't record it. So when I hit run on this platformer game, it's the same game, the same back end, basically, as weeks ago when we made our little black and white platformer of a circle guy jumping on rectangles. But now it has color, images, all that stuff, even though the effects are the same. So my guy is replaced with a little Kirby, and the background is a blue sky, and the platforms have color, but everything is exactly the same in the way it works. So how did we do those things? You saw in my last video we added that Kirby image, and in order to change it, I loaded up 2 at the beginning. So I do pygame image load for one and for another, and I give those a name. I just call them left and right, and if you want to call them something that makes more sense in your context, that's good. But what I'm saying is you want to load them both at the beginning. You don't want to say like, oh, if you turn left, then load that image and display it, because that would mean every time they push the left button, it's going to load that image into its memory, and you don't want that. You want to load it once and just say, hey, we're using it. Now we're using the other guy. Now we're using it again. So you want to load the stuff at the beginning, either, top of your code with the constants or in the initialization of the object, if there's just one object like that, Then you can just use those names whenever you want to change it. So in my control, my walk function, I say like, oh, if you hit left, then self image equals left image. If you hit right, it's right. That's even then a little inefficient, because I could do something like, oh, when you hit left, if the image isn't already left, then you change it. Right now, it's kind of like if I hit left and I keep going left, then theoretically that's changing the variable, or at least thinking about whether it should, when it could be more efficient to say, oh, if it's not already that, make it that. We'll see about that. The idea is you load up all the possibilities at first, and then you just use them with their name. So I say self image equals self left image. Great. Another thing we did in that video, or after that video, was making the background. So I loaded a thing called blue sky, and I made it the right dimensions. So this one, I don't remember what we loaded, 600 by 400. I don't remember why we ended up choosing that, but it works. So I made an image that was 600 by 400, which gets blitted onto the background when you do your set mode stuff, which I don't remember if it's down here. Yeah. Set mode with the dimensions, and then screen.blit image, put 0, 0, so it starts in the top left and goes down. And then that background image is the thing that the sprites use to cover themselves in, like, when they move. So when you say whatever group dot clear, then it will fill in what the background image was. Like this platform that's moving, this elevator type platform, every frame it fills in the background on top of itself, and then it redraws itself a little bit higher. So you can't do that with a solid color like when we made Pong. You can make a solid color background by doing the surface.fill stuff, but if you want to make an actual image, you can put one in there. And then you can change it, just like we changed the image for the guy. You can have the background change. For example, maybe your character like flips a switch and turns the lights on, and now it's a different background. You can have that. Again, you want to load the images at first and just use their names and say, oh, now it's this other thing. Now it's this other thing. You can also put sort of backgrounds that have stuff on them. So instead of like printing your text of game over or you win, you could just have a background that has that stuff built in and then switch to that background. But then, of course, your items will be on top of it instead of having the text printed, as the top layer. So I wanted to show that because these examples are already in some code we've already made. What if I wanted to mess with improving this? Let's say I wanted to make the Kirby walk, like actually have his feet move. Then I would have to get a couple more images of like one where his feet are in the middle, one where they're switched, one where they're back, and I would have to make it switch through those images as you walk, which wouldn't be that bad. It's probably only like 3 or 4 frames. If you look at the really nice, 2D games of like a really crisp Mega Man or something, they'll have a ton of frames for really smooth animation. But a lot of guys like this, like your Kirby or, even new games that are sort of retro style, will only have 4 or 5, possible states of your character. There might be like a jump one, like you're sort of in motion. We could get a jump for our Kirby instead of just have him, stay in the same direction. But that's the plan. Pick something like that, or something related to the hitbox, or something related to changing. We could have our guy turn red when he gets hit, or his eyes turn to X's when he dies, or something like that. Think about it.